All right. Well, let's just take a couple moments to come on down to our space and get ready for our practice. Our practice today, we're going to focus a lot on our throat chakra. This is a space that we speak our truth, and it is associated not just with the throat area, it's our shoulders, our neck, and it's something that I like to talk about, not just thinking about us speaking and speaking our ways. It's also a format of listening. So when our throat chakra is maybe a little imbalanced, we're not saying the things that we need to say clearly, not speaking clearly, or we're not listening very well. We're not listening to what others are trying to tell us. So we're going to just work on just doing some opening in that area. And I think what goes really well with that is not just our shoulders and our throat. What goes well, I think, is our hip area, which is our sacral region, our sacral chakra. And that's a space that we have a lot of emotions that are stored in there. And it's also kind of a place that if we're rooted down and feeling healthy in this area, then it carries up through to our throat where we can speak the way we're feeling. And it also, both areas are really associated with our creativity. And so when we balance those areas or practice in those areas, open those areas, then we can find that creative self and creative expression in there. So those will be the areas, plus a little bit of everything else mixed in there is where we're going to be focused on our practice today. 2 blocks handy, not completely necessary. If you have something as far as books or shoe boxes, those are always a nice thing to have as well if you don't have yoga blocks. And then a blanket is also something that's nice to have handy. So let's go ahead and come into our comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you, whether you have the legs crossed, out long, or in that V shape. Go ahead and take just a few moments to close the eyes down. And then we're just going to embrace the throat. Not choking ourselves out, but bringing one palm onto the throat and the other one on top of it. And since we're working into this area of our throat chakra, we're just going to take a few moments where we're going to breathe in and then we'll close the lips and hum. So breathe in and then hum. Again, inhale in and hum. Hum. Inhale. Hum. One more time, feeling this vibration in the palms. Inhale. Release the hands from the throat. Let the hands drip gently down to the lap. And just spend a few moments with the eyes shut down. Nice tall spine. Nice deep breath. And on that next inhale, let's dip the chin in towards the chest. Keep that length in the back of the neck and the shoulders roll down. Take a few breaths here. And without changing anything in the shoulders, so we're just going to peel the nose, take a peek up towards the sky, and open into that throat area. Let's do that one more time, slowly dipping the chin down towards the chest. And drawing a line up towards the sky, open in the throat. Head returns back to neutral, taking the palms out to the side. I'm just going to draw this great big circle, bringing hands above the head. And then turning palms down, just place the hands back down towards the earth. Inhale, fingertips come up towards the sky and draw this big circle up. Exhale, press back down towards the earth. Let's do that one more time. Let's do this with a count of 3 on our inhale. So we're inhaling as we raise the hands up with a count of 3. And matching that exhale, count of 3 as we exhale, bring the palms back down. Let's actually do that one more time with that count of 3. And then exhale, count of 3, bring the hands back down to the earth. Bringing hands to the tops of the knees. Just dip the chin down towards the chest, and we'll find a few neck rolls here. And it's entirely up to you whether you want these neck rolls to be full, or if that's not feeling okay in the neck this afternoon, go ahead and just peek from shoulder to shoulder. Just noticing if there's any spaces, or feeling a little cranky. If you find those spaces, maybe just give attention with the breath there for a few moments. And if you are working in those full neck rolls, go ahead and reverse the direction, coming around with the chin and the ear and the back of the head just a few more times. And then we slowly bring our head back up to center. Taking the hands at the heart, we're going to press the palms together, interlace the fingertips, and then send the hands forward. Keeping those fingers interlaced, bring them above the head, stretch and reach here. Staying nice and tall, we're just going to tick-tock over towards that right side, keeping that basket weave of the fingertips up. Come back to center, and then over to that opposite side. Back to center, releasing the clasp of the hands, let them rainbow back down towards the earth. Inhale, hands come up again. So this is a little bit different. We're just going to bring both hands on top of the head. So that right hand is actually down, and that left hand is on top of it. I'm going to turn that right hand so that the palm is facing up, and then I just have that left hand on top. So then I'm going to slowly start to press that right hand up towards the sky, but I'm looking for that resistance of that left hand pressing it down. All the while we're keeping those shoulders rolled down and away from the ears, so it doesn't look like much, but a lot is going on in the shoulder here. A little light engagement in that belly. Keep pressing the palm up, up, up. Hold at the top for just a moment. And then release those hands and let the hands drift down to the side. Again, let's take the hands up skyward. And turn the palms down towards the earth. Let's do that once again. Hands raised up towards the sky. And on that exhale, we flip the hands back down towards the earth. Interlace the hands back at heart center. And then send those palms towards the front. Raise the hands up skyward, keeping that little basket weave of the fingers. Squeeze everything up and in for just a moment. And then on that exhale, allow the hands to drift back down. We're going to do that again on the other side, taking the palms to the top of the head. This time I have that left hand facing down for a moment, and then I'm going to rotate it so that palm is facing up and that right hand is pressing down into the top of the palm. Really actively pressing the shoulders down and away from the ears. I'm going to start to find that resistance of bringing that hand up towards the sky. So a lot of resistance here where that upper hand is still pressing into that palm as I raise that lower hand up. all the while keeping shoulders rolled down. And when we reach to that extension, just hold it above the head for just a few breaths. And then release the hands, let them float down. Bringing that right shoulder up towards the ear, shrug it up and release. Left shoulder shrugs towards ear, then release. Let's alternate a few of those shoulder shrugs. Just getting out any tension that we have from that shoulder. Hold. Inhaling, exhaling. On the next inhale, let's draw both shoulders up towards the ears. Squeeze everything, pull up on the pelvic floor. Squeeze everything into midline, hold. Exhale, great big dramatic release of the shoulders, let it all go. Let's do that again. Squeeze everything up and in. Dramatic exhale, let it all go. Beautiful. We're going to come around to our hands and knees here. You can utilize that blanket if you would like to pad up the knees. And when we get here, we're just going to come into our tabletop position with our hands stacked underneath the shoulders and the knees stacked underneath the wrists. So we're just going to change up our breath pattern a little bit with our cat-cows, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate what we're doing. So for our cat pose, I'm going to take an inhale. Usually this is our exhale, and around here. And then when I dip the belly down and come into my cow pose, we're going to do lion's breath. So lion's breath is where we stick the tongue out and we make this great big It may feel kind of silly, but it's a great way to let go of frustration or any anger in the body. So go ahead and round into that cat pose. And on that dip down into our cow pose, we lift the chin, stick the tongue out, and let's do that a few more times at your own pace. Twice more. Inhale on our cat. Meet me back again into that neutral spine. Walking the knees a little bit wider, as wide as the yoga mat. We're going to shift that hip over to the right side. Start to do these little barrel rolls of bringing the bottom down towards the heels. Roll it all the way around to that opposite side of the mat. So we'll do this just a few more times on this side where we rotate the hips all the way around. Starting to feel into the hip flexors and waking up the spine. And when we're ready, we're going to go ahead and switch directions, taking the hip dramatically out to that one side, kind of a little hip sway to the other. Really sassy hips, taking it out, around, and back. Coming back again, let's bring those big toes to touch, keeping those knees as wide as you would like. We're just going to shift down into child's pose, but I want you to take some time really feeling into the groin area, feeling into those hips before we come down to the earth. And when we're ready, we'll go ahead and melt the forehead down to the earth, keeping those elbows wide and bringing those hands together, creating that diamond shape so that thumb and that pointer finger are together. We create this diamond shape and we melt down for a few moments here. Such a great posture to really restore the body and calm the nervous system. Imagine tracing that breath all the way up from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. And then trace that exhale from the crown of the head all the way down to the bottom of the tailbone. And when we're ready, we'll peel the forehead up off of the earth. Start to bring those knees back underneath the hips and the hands back underneath the shoulders. Tucking the toes underneath. Walk the hands in front of the shoulders now. Send that tailbone up towards the sky. And we'll melt into our first downward facing dog. Take a few moments here to explore. Pulling out the feet. Maybe nodding out the head. Always find a twist. Or maybe shift a little bit from plank to down dog. Just whatever feels good. Preparing yourself for our standing postures in just a moment. I'm getting this full body stretch in this down dog. When we're ready to come into some stillness, sink the heels down towards the earth. Really send that tailbone up towards the sky. Keep a bend into that knees. Doesn't need to be a complete bend, but it can be just a micro bend, or if you're feeling tight in the hamstrings, it might feel good to have a generous bend. Take just a few more moments breathing here. And switching things up a little bit, we're just going to walk the hands back towards the feet. So now we're at the back of our mat, and we're meeting in our forward fold. Go ahead and start to pedal out the feet. So take the hands to the shins, and we're just pedaling out the feet. Head is down. Warming up the hamstrings. And when we're ready, place both heels down and just melt the chest down towards the earth. Take the hands to the shins again and find a halfway lift. Once again, we melt all the way down into our fold. Hands come to shins or tops of the thighs. Find that halfway lift again. Tuck that shin in slightly, roll the shoulders down the back, breathe. And then melt back down into our fold. Bending the knees, cross the hands in the front. Bring the hands all the way up and through, coming nice and tall into our tall mountain, and then gentle palms into heart center. Take a nice deep inhale here, and an exhale out. Keeping those palms together at heart center, we're just going to turn over towards that right side. So I'm keeping those hips towards the front of the mat, twisting, come back to center, and then over towards that left side. Keep pressing firmly into the palms, keep those elbows nice and wide. Slowly back to center. Let's do that one more time. Twisting over towards the right side. Hips stay towards the front. Back to center, slow, slow, slow. And then over towards that opposite side. Coming back around to center very slowly. Keeping palms together, bring them above the head. Part the hands and melt the chest all the way down. Reverse that swan dive, coming down into our forward fold. Once again, find our halfway lift, flat back, and then melt to fold. We're just going to place the hands down to the earth, walk the hands away from the legs, and come into our down dog. Now lower the knees down to the earth. Lower the belly down to the earth, and lower the chest down to the earth. So we're just kind of slowing that chaturanga down just a little bit. Hands are underneath the shoulders, pressed into the tops of the feet so much that the knees come up off of the earth. And we're just going to find 3 little cobras. Raising up, Raising up and lowering down. One more time, raising up and then lower back down. Hands are underneath the shoulders. Let's shift back. Just for a moment, we're going to come into a child's pose, but this is just a transitional pose. We're not holding here. And then roll forward, tuck toes, and raise hips. Come into our down dog. Right heel raises skyward, three-legged dog. Bring that knee in towards nose, nose towards the knee, round into the upper back, hold and hover for a moment. And then step or carry that foot to the front of the mat. Lowering that back knee down to the earth, we're setting ourselves up for a lunge here. You can always take the hands on the outside of the feet if it feels better to be tall here on the blocks, or you can keep the hands down onto the earth. We're just pausing here for just one moment, making sure that that knee is staying lined up right over that front ankle. Inhale, sweep the hands up towards the sky. That back toe can be tucked under if you feel like you're more balanced with it, or the top of the foot can be down onto the earth. Roll the shoulders down and away from the ears. So we're checking in here, making sure that we have that nice strong base of where that back knee is pressing towards the front of the mat. It's not an active movement as much as it's a mental one where we think about that knee pressing forward. And that front knee, we want to make sure that it's staying centered over the three middle toes. Hands are above the head, but the shoulders are rolled down the back. We're going to interlace the fingertips and bring them behind the back of the head. So we're just at the base of the skull here, right where the head meets the neck. And then just bring that head back. So we're hinging back a little bit. And we're breathing. Opening that throat, opening the heart. Keep thrusting that front hip flexor, or that, I said, gosh, what side are we on? We're bringing that front hip flexor of that back leg forward. Releasing the hands from the head, bring the hands back up nice and tall. And then lean forward, just hinging at the waistline. Hold here for a moment. And then just rotate slowly back up. Inhale, folding, not all the way down, just at the waistline. And coming back up. One more time, folding to the waist. And then back up. This time we're going to lower all the way down. Place the hands to frame that back foot. Tuck the back toe underneath. Raise the knee up off of the earth. Step that back foot up to meet front foot. And we meet in forward fold. Halfway lift once again, flat back. And then melt to fold. Bend the knees, cross the arms. Come all the way back up into tall mountain. And then gentle the palms into heart center. Close the eyes down, take a nice deep inhale in, and then exhale out. Inhale in, exhale out. Inhale, raise the hands up towards the sky. Exhale, reverse that swan dive, come all the way back down into our fold. Place the hands onto the earth, step one foot and the other foot back into downward facing dog. Roll forward to plank, lower the knees down to the earth, belly down to the earth, chest down to the earth. I'm going to take those hands out so that they're out to the side, but I'm keeping the fingertips onto the earth. So we're just going to come into a little modified different cobra here, where those elbows are bent, kind of like if you think about our cactus shape here. Pressing into the tops of the fingertips and into the tops of the toes. Let's raise up into a cobra and lower back down. Again, coming back up. Exhale to lower. One more time. Inhale, raising up. Exhale to lower. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Press back into that child's pose for just a moment. Feel a good deep stretch into the entirety of the back. Then we roll forward, tuck toes underneath, hover knees, come back again into our down dog. Inhale in. Exhale out. This time the left heel rises skyward, three-legged dog. Bring that knee in towards nose, nose towards knee. Hold and hover around in that upper back. Then step or carry that foot to the front of the mat. Releasing back knee down to the earth. We're just going to set up for our lunge on this side. So you can always use those blocks if you need to find that height here. Gathering all of that inner strength, that inner core, we're going to raise up, bringing hands up. Roll the shoulders down the back, then interlace the hands, create this little basket to hold on to the back of the head. Elbows are wide, chest is open here. We're leaning back as we still have that strength in the foundation of our feet. And we're breathing. Imagine the good things that we're opening our heart to. Releasing the palms from the back of the head, bring the hands up high, and then hinging at the waistline, just bring the hands forward and roll back up. Inhaling, coming forward. Exhale, back up. One more time, forward. Back up. This time as we come forward, we plant the hands down onto the earth. Tuck that back toe, bring that knee up off of the earth. Walk that foot forward and come into our hold. Halfway lift, flat back. And melt to fold. Bend the knees, cross the arms, coming up into our tall mountain, and then palms gentle back into heart center. We're going to go ahead and grab a hold of those blocks here, and just get a little bit more into the back of the leg. Squeeze that blanket out of the way here. So I'm going to take that block, and just frame that front foot. Let's just start with our right foot. So I'm bringing that right foot forward. And this is going to be, I'm just bringing it slightly forward. So we're going to actually practice a little bit of our forward folds, but utilizing the block. So a block is framing that foot, that right foot. That left foot is step back slightly. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, come into that fold, placing the hands on top of that block. And you'll notice right away if you want to have that block higher or if you want to have it lower. Or you might just be feeling like you can do this without the blocks at all and have it down on the earth. So I'm going to lower my nose down towards the knee and then raise back up. So nose down towards the knee and back up. Nose down, back up. Let's do that a few more times, lowering and raising. So it's kind of like a little pulsing and bringing the nose down and raising up. So you'll feel this in the hamstring, maybe in the lower back. Just notice which areas that you're feeling this in as you lower. Using that strength to come back up to half lift and lower. Let's do this just a few more times on this side. One more time, lower down, hold here for just a moment. And then very slowly raise all the way back up to standing. In that standing position, just pedal out the feet a few times. Just notice if you're feeling a little bit more open on that right side. Now stepping that left foot slightly forward, keeping that block there to frame the foot. Inhale, fingertips come up. Exhale, melt back down into our fold. Bending slightly into that knee, sorry, I have a sneeze caught. Nose comes down towards that knee on the side. And then raise to a half. Lowering down. Raising back up. Moving in a rhythm that's working for you. Lowering. And raising. Bending those elbows, then coming back up. Just a few more times. Last time, let's go ahead and lower here. Hold for just a few moments. And then take your time to very slowly unwind back up to standing. Walk the feet back together. A little bit about hip width apart, just pedaling out for a moment. And then inhale, send the fingertips up high towards the sky. Exhale, melt back down into our fold. Notice if our hamstrings are feeling a little more open, plant the hands onto the earth and step back into down dog. Roll forward onto the balls of the feet. Lower knees down to the earth, belly down to the earth, chest down to earth. Now we're going to walk those elbows back out again, just like we did a moment ago in that, I'm not really sure, kind of like a spider finger, so those fingertips and those elbows wide. And pressing into the tops of the feet, we're going to just switch this up a little bit. So we're going to raise up to a cobra height, and then just bring that left shoulder in towards center. Peek up over that right shoulder. Raise back up, and release that opposite shoulder down towards the earth. Let's do that twice more. Once more on each side. Bring the shoulder down, peeking up over that opposite shoulder. Rotate across the body and release that other shoulder. Come back around to center, lower the chest down. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Press back again. Just a pause here in the six-inch child's pose. Roll back up, tuck toes, raise hip points up, downward facing dog. Inhaling in. Exhale, side out. Right heel raises skyward once again. Three-legged dog. Nose comes in towards knee. Round into that upper back. Hold and hover for just a moment. Then step or carry that foot to the front of the mat. So I'm going to step that back foot in just a little bit, setting up for warrior one here. So keeping those feet in that rail track kind of situation where they're nice and wide. These blocks so you can see. And that back foot is angled at a 45-degree angle. Come all the way up into this warrior one. So bending into the front knee, rolling the shoulder down the back. So the difference between warrior one and warrior two is warrior one, our hips are facing forward, they're squared, and we're also kind of shorten that stance a little bit and keep the feet wider than we do in warrior two. In warrior two, we line feet and keep them open at hips. Inhale, hands come up high, bend into that front knee. Keep breathing here. Now we're going to release the palms, bring them behind that lower back, interlace the hands, and create a fist here. So we're working to open that throat chakra again, where we open up the chest, really send the hands away from the glutes. You can keep a micro bend or a generous bend into those elbows. See if you can square up the wrists here, open that heart, making sure to keep a bend in that front knee. Keep breathing. Very slowly, we're just going to bow down, creating a humble warrior, bringing that front shoulder in towards the inside of that right thigh. Keep sending the hands away from the body. And using that core strength, come all the way back up to standing. Release the clasp of the hands and roll the hands and the wrists out. Pivot on that back toe, step it up to meet the front foot. Inhale, up. Exhale, melt down. Plant the hands onto the earth, step back, downward facing dog. Roll forward to plank, lower all the way down. Your choice to use the knees first or just that typical chaturanga. Coming into up dog or cobra. Tucking toes, raising hips up, finding our downward facing dog. Inhale in, open mouth, exhale, let it all go. This time that left heel raises skyward, three-legged dog. Draw that knee in towards chest, nose towards knee, hold and hover. Step or carry the foot to the front of the mat. Pivoting on that back foot, widening that stance, rising up, coming into our warrior one on this side. So just check in and see where you need to find that good balance here and that good foundation. Hands are above the head, the shoulders are rolled down the back. Release the palms to the lower back. Create that little fist, but let's bring that opposite thumb on top. Send those fists away from the hips, away from the glutes. Roll that chest open towards the sky. Keep that bend in the front knee and keep breathing. Very slowly dive into this space, bringing that front shoulder to the inside of that front leg. Keep that breath fluid. Using core strength, come all the way back up to standing. Release the clasp of the hands, roll out the wrists, pivot on that back foot, step that back foot to front foot. Inhale, up. Exhale, swan dive all the way down into fold. Place the hands onto earth, step back, downward facing dog. Roll forward to plank, and then lower all the way down into your chaturanga of your choice, up dog or cobra. Tuck toes, hips raise, downward facing dog. Inhaling in, exhale out. This time, right foot raises high into that three-legged dog. Knee comes in towards nose, hold and hover for a moment, then step to the front of the mat. Pivot on that back foot. We're going to come again, once again, into our warrior one posture. We're going to switch up a little bit with the arms here though, but find that good foundation of that lower part of the body. This time we're going to come into our eagle arms, taking that left arm, or excuse me, right arm underneath the left arm and coming into our eagle pose here. Still bending into the front knee though. Tuck the chin in towards chest, send the hands away from the face, and just breathe into the back of the shoulders. Now, if eagle is too much for you to hold, you can always just cross and hold the elbows stacked on top of each other, and those palms giving a little squeeze in the shoulder area. Keep breathing. Keep that bend in the front knee, maybe tuck that chin in a little bit more, lengthening in the back of the neck. Very slowly rise up, release the cross of the hands, bring the hands to the hips, step that back foot up to meet front foot. Inhale, raise the hands up skyward. Exhale, fold, and let's just stay here for a few moments in this fold. Take a few moments to really melt the heart down and breathe into that back space. Bend the knees, cross the arms, reverse that swan dive, come all the way back up to standing. And then gentle palms into heart center. Just notice the shift of energy, and then we're going to do that on the other side. Inhaling up, exhale to melt back down. Hands come back down onto the earth. We're going to find our flow. Step back, down dog, roll forward, low to high, coming into that back bend of your choice, tucking toes, sending hips, downward facing dog. Inhale in, exhale out. Inhale in, exhale, send that left hip or left heel up high into our three-legged dog. Knee comes in towards nose, hold and hover. Then step or carry the foot to the front of the mat. Opening back up into our warrior one. Take your time to rise all the way up to standing. Now we're going to find that eagle pose on that opposite side, so we can just hold on to shoulders if we need to and keep those elbows stacked. Or we can go ahead and take that left hand underneath the right hand, cross here, and then take the hands away from the face and bring that chin in towards chest. Squeeze everything into midline. Keep that bottom knee bent and over towards the middle of towards the center of the three middle toes. And breathe. One more breath here. Go ahead and unwind those arms, float them down to the side. Step that back foot up to meet front foot. Hands come to the hips. Let's just pedal out the feet a few times. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up high. Exhale, melt down into that fold again. Right hand is going to stay down onto earth or block. Right, that block can be right in front of that right foot. Left hand is going to raise up skyward. Release the hand, bring that hand to block or earth, and twist open to the other side. Again, fold forward, hand comes to block or earth on that right side, bend into right knee, and left hand comes skyward. Release the palm, bend the knee, and open to the other side. Release the hand, melt down, stay in this forward fold for just a few breaths. Find a halfway lift, flat back. Melt to fold, bend the knees, and come all the way back up into our tall mountain. Gentle the palms into heart center. Take an inhale in and an exhale out. We're going to find one more standing pose on each side, and then we'll come down to the earth and work on those hips. So I'm going to keep that right foot forward. Left foot, I'm going to step back. We're going to come into our extended side angle. So you can think of this as setting up for our warrior two stance, where that back foot is in line. So we're lining up either the heel to heel or heel to that back arch of the foot. We have that angle of that 45-degree of that back foot again, and we bend into the knee. This time the hips are open here, so those hips are open instead of square to the front. Come into that T shape for just a moment in that warrior two, and then bring the forearm to the top of that front thigh. So before we add the arm, I just want you to bring the arm to the hip, so that usually that arm that's raised above the head, that left hand is to the hip area. And we're just going to work into the neck here for a moment. So I just want you to find that perfect extension of the neck, that area where we can be looking either up, neutral, or down. Find that beautiful length here, and you can just keep the hand on the hip, or if you would like, you can add it by bringing it up, stacking shoulders, or you can extend it overhead. Palm is facing down. Do not want to lose that beauty that you found in the neck, that length in the neck. Take a few breaths, opening up here. Not crashing down into that forearm that is on the thigh. That is there to keep you lifted up high. One more breath. And on that next inhale, let's just press back and we'll come into a reverse warrior. So that back hand comes down to that lower leg or that lower back as we reach that front arm overhead, but we're still bending into the front knee. Great, come back again into warrior two. Hands come to the hips and we're just going to turn and pivot. So now you're going to come to the back of your mat, just coming into that opposite side. So now that left foot is forward, right foot is lined up with that arch of the foot or heel to heel. And then we have a wider stance too in our warrior two compared to our warrior one. Arms come into a T. And let's find that extended side angle again. So we're bringing that left forearm to the top of the left knee. Right hand is on the hip so we can really feel that opening. You can utilize that hand to press yourself open here. And then notice in the neck where it feels good to hold that gaze. And this might be where you just stay with that hand on the hip. Or maybe we raise it up and keep the shoulders stacked. Or maybe we find the full expression of the pose of taking that palm overhead, facing it down towards the earth. Notice how you want to start to collapse in the neck by bringing that lower ear to the lower shoulder. We don't want to do that. We want to keep that extension here. Keep breathing. One more deep inhale. And on that exhale, we'll float around and reverse our warrior. So now that front arm comes up and overhead. That back arm is to lower back or down the back of the leg. Press back into that warrior two. Hands come to the hips. Let's turn the toes so that they're to the wide edge of the mat, slightly turned in, and then we're just going to fold forward into this wide-legged forward fold. Take a few moments to breathe here. Let the head be heavy. Walk the hands forward, find a halfway lift, a flat back. The hands can be on blocks if that feels a little bit more comfortable. And then bend the elbows and melt back down into our fold. Hands are on the earth, and we're just going to start to heel toe the feet towards each other, coming into our malasana, our yogi squat. And if this is not feeling good for you, you can use those blocks to sit on. Or you can just stay up tall. We're not going to be here very long. Just taking a few moments to breathe into the shape. And then wherever you're at, we're going to transition down to the earth. Take your time to come on down. Extending the legs out long for just a moment. Give them a little shake out, a little roll out of the ankles. So I mentioned before that we were working in our throat chakra. Now we're going to start to work into our sacral chakra, into our hips a little bit more. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. Knees are out to the side, finding this butterfly shape for just a moment. So from this butterfly shape, I'm going to take that right foot and I'm going to bring it around and come into what is called our deer pose. So a couple options here. If this does not feel good to have the legs at this 90-degree angle, like a pinwheel shape, just take that foot and or that knee and rest it gently on that front foot. So you can have it out to the side here, or have it on the foot. Or you can even utilize that block if you need to have it underneath that knee. So a lot of times in yoga, we really work on that external rotation of the hip. This is an internal rotation of the hip. So you really feel that front hip. We're pressing it down towards the earth. So that hip is on a ball joint, just like our shoulders are. So we really want to focus on all of the hip, not just, that external rotation or the glutes or things like that. We also want to get this internal rotation. So this might be just enough for you, or you can take the hands behind, pump that chest up, open up the heart and that throat chakra again as we continue to rotate that front hip. Or excuse me, I guess it's not a front hip. We're rotating that right hip down. And this might be just enough for you to stay here in this little micro back bend, or you can even come down to your forearms. I'm running out of space here, but just find what feels good and breathe. If you're on the forearms, go ahead and start to rise up. Coming back up to the hands, let's just go ahead and walk forward, raising fingertips up high. We're going to find a little twist here. So twisting over towards that left side, right hand comes to left knee, left hand comes alongside the hip, and we're just going to twist. And we're going to breathe. Inhale, hands come back up to center. Let's just find a little counter twist and come to that other side for just a moment. Hands come back up towards the sky. Release them down alongside the hips. And let's just unwind. So bringing that foot back around. Both soles of the feet are down to the earth. Just doing a little windshield wiper, one knee at a time. Just releasing any tension in that right hip. Noticing if you have a little bit more mobility there too. And then we're going to set up on the opposite side. So I always like to start in Buddha Konasana in butterfly with the soles of the feet together. That just kind of helps me get that alignment here. So taking that left foot now behind, lining it up. So if you think about 90-degree angles, you have one shin lined up with your mat, and then the other shin lined up with the other side of the mat. So this side could feel a little bit more open, a little bit more cranky, and not so open. And there's always that option. We can just bring it up and forward a little bit. Kind of think about pigeon when we're in pigeon. If we have that leg towards the front, that might be too much in torquing it. So we can bring it back towards the body. So find what's working for you on this side. Adjust and find that height here. And keep thinking about rotating that hip, that left hip down. So it's not a really natural movement to think about bringing that groin and that hip down towards the earth. Hands can stay right here. This might be enough for you. Or we can bring them behind. And once again, we're doing a little bit of double duty here of opening the heart, opening the chest, opening the throat. Option to stay on those palms, or if it's in your practice, go ahead and come down to forearms and melt back a little bit. All the while, we're still thinking about rotating that hip towards the earth. And wherever you are, we start to walk back up nice and tall. Inhale, hands come up. Let's twist over to that left side or that right side now. Left hand comes to right knee and we twist. A lot of work here still, pressing that hip down towards the earth. Inhale, come back around to center, float the hands up. Exhale, twist to the opposite side, just a little counter twist here. And then come all the way back around to center. Release that leg. Bring the soles of the feet back together. Again, coming into our butterfly pose, our external rotation of our hips. And then we're just going to take the hands to the tops of the feet. Tuck chin in towards chest and round into the back. Finding a few breaths. Really breathing deep into back body. Taking your time to unwind, hands come to the outside of the knees, bring the knees together, and this time we're just going to come all the way down to the earth. Setting up for our Shavasana for a few moments. You can always take the feet wide as the yoga mat, knees tucked in towards each other if that feels better than extending legs down long. Wherever you're at, take up space and feel the support of the earth beneath your body. And just feel the magic of your practice washing over you. Allowing everything to soften. Just melt a little bit more. Deepening your breath and sinking in just slightly more. Let's start to invite gentle movement in the body. A little bit of rotation of wrists and ankles and fingertips and toes. Maybe a nod of the head. Whatever you need to bring yourself back to this present moment. And then guide one knee into chest, and then the other knee, squeezing both of them into the belly, in towards the chest. And then go ahead and rotate those knees down to the earth. Come down onto the hip, resting the head onto that forearm, taking a few moments in this fetal position. Press into that palm to rise up. Come back to your seated position. Bring the hands into heart center. Close the eyes down. Just notice the effects on the body from when we began and where you are now. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more open in our throat, in our shoulders, and our hips. So you can speak your truth, find that creativity and that passion that's within you. Thank you so much for joining me, and namaste.